Greetings and welcome to the Recombobulation area. My name is Dan Schaefer. Thank you so much for joining us. What a week it's been in Wisconsin. We have made it to the other side of the August 11th partisan primary. We have a Democratic nominee in the race for governor. His name is David Crowley. We also have a nominee for lieutenant governor, and her name is Sarah Godlewski, and she joins us here today. Sarah, welcome to the Recombobulation area. How you doing?
Oh my gosh. Dan, I'm doing great now that I know who the voters picked to be my work bestie for the next 4 years. I mean, there were a lot of cliffhangers, Dan, whether you look at the primary, election night, but one cliffhanger for me that people just don't talk about is I wanted to figure out who the voters were going to pick to be that person. And now I know. So
And now
life is
you
good.
know who, yeah, all the signs, that are going to be in people's yards. We knew that your name was going to be on those signs, right?
Right.
With the,
Right.
as the lieutenant governor, the way it works in Wisconsin is we elect the lieutenant governor separately. So you were the only Democratic candidate on the ticket. The Republicans had a primary for lieutenant governor on their side of the aisle, but for you weren't having anybody to run against. And so you knew that your name was going to be on the ticket. Your name was going to be on the yard signs. You were going to be campaigning, but I mean, this primary has just been, I have to lean into it. It's been the most discombobulating primary imaginable, right?
Yeah, in fact, I kind of, talk about it, Dan, as I mean, I don't even think Netflix could have written a more a better political thriller. I mean, just the twists and turns and ups and downs, and I mean, I don't know about you, but on Tuesday night, I was up almost all night waiting for the results to come in, wondering who was gonna win. It was wild.
Yeah, we had our live stream going after 1 a.m.,
Or
waiting
did
for
you?
we were live. It was me and Dr. Kristen Lyerly and Kate
Yeah.
Duffy were live streaming, waiting all the way until Milwaukee Central count. And then we saw those numbers, and I think we saw what was going to happen from there. But yeah, it was wild. So walk me through what the last 48 hours have been like for you. We're talking here on Thursday morning. And so walk me through what was it like on election night for you on Tuesday, and then, beginning Wednesday morning with, I think, and it was going to be a breakfast, but that turned into a brunch for the Unity tour, just given the timing for everything. So walk me through what this last 48 hours have been like for you.
Yeah, so on, election night, one of my traditions is I actually take my 6-year-old son, Hartley, and we go vote, and so we did that together, and then I checked in with all the candidates. Something that I've tried to do as lieutenant governor is checking in with the candidates. How are they doing? Getting a sense from them, and then really it was knocking on doors, talking to voters, but waiting to see after 8 o'clock what it's gonna look like. Because Dan, I have to write speeches based on who the individual is gonna be. Like, I've gotta be ready for interviews, and so part of what I was doing on, Tuesday night was, of course, watching the results and figuring out who that could be, but then starting to write different speeches for who was I gonna introduce and what was my stump gonna be for who, and, yeah, I wake up really early on Wednesday morning where it was confirmed it was David Crowley, and I'm like,
Right,
"All
right.
right, I gotta really build out that stump speech." And I called him immediately, and I will tell you, something about David is that I've never laughed so much. I mean, he is a funny, charismatic guy, and we were actually joking, like, who's gonna play him when they make this into a movie? Like,
Did
who
did
is it
you
gonna
have a
be?
casting decision there? What'd you come down
Well
to?
well, people are like, "Well, maybe it's Denzel Washington." He's like, "Sarah, I'm not that old." Like and I'm like, "Fair
Yeah,
point, you don't
yeah,
have gray hairs yet."
yeah.
So we were kinda, like, joking back and forth and talking about, what the Crowley Godlewski administration would look like, and, yeah, I got in the car and headed to this Unity Brunch, and I will say, Dan, that, those pictures were real. Like, the
Yeah.
unity that I felt at that table was 100% genuine, and everybody was committed and talking about that commitment to making sure, we beat Tiffany.
Well, that's great to hear. I mean, it's primaries are tough, and this primary got pretty tough in a lot of spots.
Yeah.
Eh, I think any is there any like particular stories you can share about like what the conversation was that you had, particularly with David Crowley and with Francesca Hong? Because it just of course Wisconsin these election results come down to decimal points. But what was the dynamic around the table with some of those candidates and with those two in particular?
Yeah, oh, yeah, when I got to the Unity Brunch, I mean, the first person that I saw was Fran,
Okay.
and I gave her the biggest bear hug, um, because I'm so proud of her. I mean, she came from an underdog position. Nobody thought she would ever get this far. They were writing her off before she even started.
Mhm.
And, she just put her head down and went to work. She didn't have any lobbing any ugly statements at people. She just put her head down and talked about what she was gonna do for the people of Wisconsin, and it's why she built a coalition of 7,000 people, Dan. I mean, that's
The
more than
volunteers,
what
yeah,
that
yeah.
we've seen in a presidential primary. It was incredible, and so I just talked to her. I mean, I know Fran, she was a person I got to know when I got elected and moved to Madison. I was also shortly after became a new mom. And Fran was somebody I didn't, navigating the childcare system is challenging, Dan. Like, where do you go? Where will accept you? I mean, where can you go that it's not going to cost more than your mortgage? I mean, there's a lot. And Fran actually was opened up those doors for me, and, the preschool that Hartley ended up going to was the one that Fran recommended, and so I she's a really great person, and I gave her this big hug and just told her how proud I am, and she looked at me and she said, "Sarah, I'm gonna do whatever it takes to make sure we beat Tiffany," because that's who Fran is. Like, she cares about people, she cares about the results. It's not about her, it's about what we need to do to make Wisconsin that best state for working people.
That's wonderful to hear, and it certainly matches everything that I know about Francesca Hong
Yeah.
too. And just you're describing this childcare experience like it's a very millennial parent thing, right?
I
And I
know.
think, and like it's same thing when I've run into David Crowley around town in Milwaukee and stuff like that. He and I are about the same age, and I'm a father of daughters, and he's a father of daughters. So so there's a lot of
Girl
these
dads, I
types.
love it.
That's right. That's right. And so yeah, that's really something. And you're right. Her campaign was just remarkable with the way that she was able to connect with people all around the state. Like nobody thought that she was going to end up getting more than 300,000 votes when she
Yeah,
launched her campaign last September. So,
no.
um, came up short, of course, but and I have to imagine that it got to be a pretty agonizing result. I mean, I've never run an election before, so I don't know what that might be, but but the fact that she was able to bounce back and be at that breakfast and be there with you folks and is ready to help elect Democrats up and down the ticket. I mean, what do you see as a challenge though, as far as like not Hong herself, but like the supporters who were so enthusiastic about her campaign? Is it like what is the work that needs to be done? Do you think from David Crowley, from the rest of the Democrats in Wisconsin to bring that coalition back together?
I mean, I think for me, what I have talked about with voters is I think voters get frustrated. They don't think that they're being listened to. They feel that, the establishment is just making these decisions. It's run by a bunch of lobbyists. And at the end of the day, it's all about where's the money. And I think we saw that very clear in her campaign. I mean, what she was talking about was this system that's being built around billionaires and the wealthy 1%, and it's not working for working folks. And to me, I think this is a real opportunity for David and I to talk about how we are going to listen to voters, but further that, David growing up in one of the poorest zip codes in the entire state of Wisconsin, like, he just doesn't talk about fighting for working families. He knows what that means because of what he has grown up in and what he has lived through himself. And so I think this is a real opportunity for us to make sure that we are introducing David and what the administration would look like to Fran's voters, but it starts with listening and showing up, and that's exactly what we're gonna be doing.
Is there anything, like, on the policy front that you think is, like, maybe being misconstrued about what David's policies might be, or just, like, maybe something from the Hong campaign, you just believe, like, "You know what? That really resonated with voters. That was a really, strong position to take. Maybe this is something that we could incorporate differently."
Yeah, I mean, I think something that's been bubbling up is that this kind of theme about the establishment.
Mm,
And I think what is very clear is, I mean, David is not the establishment. I mean, somebody who grew up in poverty and housing instability, it's not like his dad is writing a check for him to be the next governor of Wisconsin.
sure.
I mean, he has worked really hard for everything that he has, which is, I think, what Wisconsinites want. Right now, Wisconsinites are working hard, and despite working 40 hours a week, they can't afford health care or buy a home, and they're doing everything right. And so I think this is a real opportunity for us to be talking about what like a Crowley Godlewski administration would look like. And I will tell you, Dan, that starts too with exactly something that Francesca Hong said, which is, we've got to make sure that the wealthy and corporations are paying their fair share.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, it's gonna be interesting to see how this unfolds. Beyond just the chaos of the last 48 hours and everything that we're looking forward. But now we've got a general election in front of us. So
Yeah.
for you, as in this role as the Democratic nominee to be lieutenant governor, what do you see your role is on this campaign for the next 80 some days
Yeah.
before
I think
November
it's
3rd?
83 now, Dan. Oh
Yeah,
my
yeah,
god. Which, if you think about it, that was less time than what Kamala Harris had
yeah.
when the whole switch. So, I mean, we don't have a lot of time to do this, but going back to even one of your questions earlier, which is all connected, is David, some of the conversations David and I have been having is kind of what can my role be and what would that look like? And I think one of the things that we've talked about is how my role is being from Western Wisconsin, growing up as a product of public schools. My parents were public school teachers. My work with access to capital and small business. And so I think we have kind of talked about a lot of opportunities there, including, as we know, like fighting for reproductive freedom. When you've
Yeah.
got somebody like Tom Tiffany and even his running mate, who want an abortion ban with no exceptions, not even for rape or incest, freedoms need to also be at the heart of this campaign. And I know that's something that I'm going to be helping to lead the charge on.
Yeah. Well, that'll be interesting. I know, my friend Dr. Kristen Lyerly, who we've been podcasting with regularly, has been really complimentary of David Crowley and how he talks about that
Yeah.
issue of reproductive rights that, sometimes us men don't have the best words for. But I think
Right.
Kristen has been very complimentary of how he's approached that issue. And I think obviously it's going to be a really important one. For folks too. And you mentioned Western Wisconsin as well. And this is, one of the things that I talked about with David Crowley and his campaign is that, yeah, he's here in southeastern Wisconsin, here in Milwaukee County. He's well known. He's well liked. I thought one of the challenges that he saw, and perhaps part of the reason that he did drop out initially, was that he wasn't as well known, much less people having an opinion on him in places like the Fox Valley or in Western Wisconsin. And so how do you think he will, and a lot of these Western Wisconsin counties, like Eau Claire County, that was a really strong county for Francesca Hong.
Mhm.
How do you see as a way for David Crowley to, get his message to resonate with some of those very swingy voters in your part of the state?
Yeah, well, as somebody, Dan, who flipped 9 Trump counties in 2018, including a lot in western and northern Wisconsin, I can tell you David's message is going to resonate with them. We just need to make sure they know him. And
Mm,
I think in the primary, that just was not happening. But now that voters are, Wisconsinites are all watching this election. I mean, the country, and I would argue the world is watching this election. people are going to really get to know David, and they're going to know that he's fighting for their issues. I mean, one big issue in Western Wisconsin, Dan, and I think about where I'm from in the Chippewa Valley, is we saw 2 hospitals shut down.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result, healthcare premiums have gone up exponentially. I mean, a family of 4 was sharing with me their premium, Dan, went from $700 a month to $2,700 a month. And I mean, people are having to make decisions. Do they, fix their car or pay for their health care? Because there's not that much. I mean, $2,000 more, like that's a lot of money, Dan.
Yeah.
And so when David is in these communities talking about his plan to expand Badger Care, talking about his plan for affordable housing, exactly what he did in Milwaukee County, talking about his plan for access to capital for small businesses, because we know these communities run on Main Street, not on Wall Street.
That's right.
It's going to resonate with them, and they're going to want to vote for David Crowley because they're going to see the alternative, which Tom Tiffany's just given tax breaks to the wealthy 1% and his corporate buddies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what do you make of how Tom Tiffany's week that he's having over the past few days? He's very much he won his primary. Obviously, it wasn't a particularly competitive one, but he was out there. I saw that he was holding a housing-related press conference with a private equity Republican in one of the wealthiest parts of Wisconsin on Monday, and then yesterday, putting absolutely zero distance between himself and Donald Trump on really anything as he
Right.
finally hits the campaign trail.
Well, it's so much so, Dan, that he literally has in his pocket MAGA extremism, like pamphlet that was hanging out of his pocket at one of his events. And so, I mean, he basically wears his connection and alliance with Donald Trump almost as a badge of honor. And I think that's what really should concern Wisconsin voters, because to me, being a leader is going against your party sometimes. It's bringing people together. And one of the many things we know about Tom Tiffany is he's voted 100% of the time with Donald Trump. I mean, he has not ever broken with Donald Trump. Even when we look at votes like the Roads Housing Act, Dan, which was going to stop Wall Street from buying homes in our communities, he didn't show up for that vote. And that vote happened 3 times, and it was a bipartisan vote where even his Republican Wisconsin colleagues voted for this.
Right.
So he's, I think he's really, when being asked how he's going to separate himself from Donald Trump, he doesn't know how to argue it. And, and then this is a guy that talks about how much he's got Wisconsin pride, but his last event was at a bar that had Steelers stuff. Dan, come on, buddy.
Not hard to
who
find a
are you?
Packers bar in West Dallas.
I was just gonna say,
Yeah.
so I just I think he's really gonna struggle trying to figure out. I mean, what do you hit Crowley at? He's not in the pocket of anybody. He's bipartisan. He brought people together to Act 12. That was really helpful for Milwaukee.
Yeah. We've talked a lot about Act 12 at the Recombobulation area, and we will a whole lot in the months to come, if especially if Tom Tiffany is making that an issue. And so one thing I wanted to ask you about, because you are someone who has many roles, and one of your roles is as the first vice chair of the Democratic Party of Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
What has that meant for you in being part of the party and also as a candidate? And then can you speak to this project that the party has been putting together at all called the Wisconsin Governor Readiness Project? Is that something you can speak to, or just your role there more generally and how that has intersected with this chaotic campaign?
Yeah, I mean, I think what has been really interesting for me in this role, Dan, is how important it's been to be neutral throughout these primaries and how we really want to welcome all voters. And that's been, I think, the big piece is, we want to make sure candidates have opportunities to make their voices heard. And that's what we've, helped to do, and to allow the voters to pick the best person they believe in these seats. And so that has been, I think, a lot of my role. In addition to what you pointed out, is we know that they're going to be bringing in billions of dollars into these campaigns. I mean, Diane Hendricks and the U-Lines have already written $1 million checks to the legislative candidates and to Tom Tiffany. And so my other big piece is helping to raise funds to make sure that our candidates have the resources to win. And so, those have been right now my kind of primary responsibilities is helping to make sure we have kind of the grassroots money that is needed. And now that we are through the primary, it's making sure our candidates feel ready to go. I've been making calls all morning talking to our candidates who made it through the primaries. What do you need? How can we help you set up for success? I've had the conversation with Diane Hesselbein, who is
Hmm.
hopefully soon to be the next leader as we flip those 3 Senate seats needed for her to be the majority leader. So it's really my other big role is bringing everybody together because we know we win on people power and on addition, not subtraction. And so, how are we bringing everybody together to do that?
Yeah, I was gonna, my last question here was going to be about those down ballot races because I'm always looking down ballot here at the recombobulation area. So there is an opportunity for a Democratic trifecta.
Yeah.
What needs to happen for Democrats to achieve that reality?
We gotta get out and we've gotta start talking to people and our friends today. Because I think sometimes what we see is a down ballot drop off. People don't know who to vote, they don't know who their assembly member is, and so we need to start having those conversations and talking to our neighbors today. And that's something that we're actually doing, Dan, on the Unity tour. Both David and I make sure they know who the reps are and really call them out and bring them in because also that's who we're gonna be working with. And
Right.
we want to make sure we are also sending a clear message that we are going to govern together because that's how we get things done here in Wisconsin.
All right. Well, Sarah Godlewski, thank you so much for your time here. Any final thoughts? Anything you can share about what's next for you on this tour?
Well, I will tell you, we've already started the ice cream tradition on this tour. So yesterday, David had some Wisconsin Blue Moon. I did a cookie dough, and so I think it's going to be where are we going to get ice cream today? So we gotta. I think the big thing is this work is hard, and we got to have fun. And so I hope people see that it's important work, but we're doing it and having a lot of fun along the way.
All right. Well, a Crowley Godlewski ticket and a Democratic trifecta. Let's
Yeah.
go.
Let's go.
All
Let's
right.
go.
All right. Thank you so much for your time, Sarah. Be well.
Thank you. Bye, Dan.